Hey, sports fans, guess what time it is? It's time for Athletics Chat, number 42. This is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun. I'm in the cheese capital of the world, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. And the gentleman next to me, Stuart Weir, is in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. Well, hello, Stuart.
Hi, we're actually wondering if you could add the intellectual and vaccine capital, because we're terribly proud of having invented the Oxford AstraZeneca anti-COVID vaccine.
We will do that too. I just wanted to add a little something else. Last week, I interviewed John Ridgen, and John called me back to make sure that you knew that you are not in the intellectual capital of England. He believes that London is the number one city in England, and intellectually, and that Oxford is merely number two. I said I would bring it up. I'm not sure that how you will respond to that, except with let me think about it. But it was a good start. Good try, John.
Yeah.
All right, so the beginning of our thing today is the Mondo and Renault show. My gosh, can two athletes do more to build up a competition?
Remarkable. I mean, it's those of us who have known and loved Renault and have shared his frustration of the injuries and not being able to do what he wants to do. I'm just so delighted to see him now reducing this kind of distance. This kind of height, rather. And,
he's having a great time, it looks like, too,
Yeah. I mean, the only thing you might say is I wonder if he might have wished that he'd kept it for next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He started the season a little earlier, and I think what was his first clearance, like 590? And then he went to 592, and then it just kind of went up to 595, and then he had his 6 meters. But and then Mondo waited a little bit, and then popped that 610, which impresses people. And I think we could see something north of 610. These guys both want to vault. They get the best out of each other. It's been a weird season so far for our friend Sam Kendricks. He's just I think maybe he's just having a little slower season, and we'll have to do some checking into that. But he seems to have some challenges. But both Mondo and Mondo is all of 21 now. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, and then our friend Renault, I believe, is 36. It was I thought it was really sweet over the weekend. After he cleared 606, his little girl ran out on the track and gave him a big hug, and he just was beaming, And so those things are cool. And Scott Simpson, the coach who put together all those really great English webinars, which, Stuart, just so you know, our most popular stuff on RunBlogRun, 3, 4, 5, 6 are those webinar pieces. Everybody's been reading them. And then we have pieces up. I did an interview with Katie and with Sandy, and those have gone very nicely, too. And then anytime we put anything on Mondo or Renault up, it's like pole vault city. So what do you think makes the pole vault so popular right now?
Well, I think that not only are Mondo and Renault brilliant athletes, but they're characters. They have personality.
Yeah.
I mean, I always felt that Renault, at his best, could just stop the entire auditorium. That, everything just stopped. I mean, we often hear the criticism that field events happen in a corner when nobody's watching, but not when Renault is going. He just takes over the stadium, but outdoor or the the auditorium if it's indoor. And Mondo, because he's so young and fearless, and I think it helps that both of them are really nice people and very approachable. And if you get to talk to them, you get your money's worth.
Yeah, no, that is the thing. They both can talk about the event. They are both great role models, I think. Besides being incredible sports people, they're great entertainers. And sports is entertainment. That's what everybody's been telling us. And we sure have not only two very entertaining athletes, but they're going to clash this weekend, the 4th through the 7th in Torun, Poland, at the European Champs. And both you and I will be covering that for RunBlogRun, and you're helping with, obviously, with our friends at Athletics Weekly as well. So I think that it's going to be one of the highlights. There's some really good events coming up. The next thing I wanted to talk about was James Webb and the shoes. Peter Thompson sent this piece to me, and then so did Jeff Benjamin. James Webb did a piece in one of the British papers about how he is part of a group that tests different shoes, and that he decided against using the new Nike shoe. He is actually a sponsored athlete with Adi, and he will use the new Adidas shoes. Now, what he equated it to was the difference between a gravel track and a Mondo track, which actually probably makes the most sense of all, at least in my mind. Do the shoes make a difference? Of course they do. I recall in the early 1970s when I got into running, in training shoes that were 15, 16 ounces, so that when we put on and there was one of our rival teams at St. Louis University High School, those kids ran their cross-country morning runs in army boots. And the coach's idea was they run soft trails, that when they got into racing shoes, they were going to feel light as can be. And so there's that difference, right? I do think that some of our fellow media only attention has been to the shoes. Like that, if you put the shoes on a human, they're going to run fast. Now, the fact is, anybody would run faster in these shoes. Some people are more capable. Some people can train and can build their bodies so that they can use the shoe to more benefit. But we talked about that before, the new Nike training shoes and the new Adi training shoes. Someone trying to break 3 hours marathon, who was 5 or 6 minutes off, that's their thing to do it. Or someone who's trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, that can, and they're off by a few minutes. That could really help. What is it doing on the track? Elliot Giles was very insulted when the way the writer referred to it was it's just his shoes. So what do you think? What's your thought on this?
Two things came to mind. One was that I remember someone asking Christina Horrigan at a particular meet, the interviewer said to her, "It's a very fast track out there. Did that help you?" And Christine looked at him and said, I stood on it and I didn't move. And it was only as I moved my legs that I started to go fast. So in other words, I don't know what you're talking about, a fast track. I did all the work. And also, Sky Television here have just done a documentary on the 1984 3,000 meters race. And I was really impressed with the shoes that Zola Budd was wearing.
Yes, no shoes at all.
No shoes at all.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that in those days she could match Mary Decker without any shoes at all. So where does that leave us?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand totally the frustration of Jamie, Webb, and Elliot that people say to them, "Oh, well, you're just an average athlete with special shoes," because I mean they work their butts off to get to where they are. Of course, the shoes help a bit, but then I mean, I also think about the movie Chariot to Fire about the 1924 Olympics, and there was great criticism of Harold Abraham because he had a coach. Can you believe it? He had a coach. How unfair! And then there was the other lovely bit where Lord Burleigh, I think it was, said, you know, some of the people I'm running against are training and preparing for the races. I'm just running a natural talent. So, you know, there has been this development.
Yeah.
And from the days when people learned to train, you know, the Bannister who did the first 4-minute mile was never a full-time athlete. He was fitting it into his life as a doctor. Things move on. Now we have professional athletes who train all day, who understand nutrition in a way that people didn't before. So of course things are moving forward. And I mean, I think you could put the best pair of shoes on me and I still won't run very fast.
We'll have to see if we can borrow a pair, Stuart. That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, yeah. You know, I think it's a combination of things. I think that surely if Ron Clark had been on a brand new Mondo track instead of the dirt track he was on when he ran 27:39, he would have run faster.
Sure, but I mean, I think it's sad, frustrating, but perhaps inevitable that when somebody does a fantastic performance, it's either because they're on drugs or because they're using illegal shoes.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's what a lot of it has come down to. That's what our compatriots like to write about. You know, there was a nice little event this weekend called the Texas Qualifier that one of our compatriots, Chris Chavez, who does some writing for Sports Illustrated and has a blog called Sidious Mag, he and a couple good friends, a farmer top miler who we call the real Merb, they covered an incredible meet from 800 to 10,000 meters this weekend on Friday and Saturday. And good number of athletes. Again, they're putting on track meets, no fans there, but people are getting to race. And right now, that's pretty impressive. But a lot of PBs, and I know Mark Scott got nailed a week or so ago. He ran 27:10:48, and it was fantastic. It was 45 seconds faster than what he had run a few months ago. The silly thing is they were using that to say, well, look, he was in an old shoe. Now, he was actually in the nicest new shoe that Nike had at the time, and then he went to one a little nicer. So what does that really tell you? Tells you that, you know, Jerry Schumacher knows what the hell he's doing when he develops athletes, and that it's a combination of things: sports psychology, nutrition, training, desire, good facilities, good pair of shoes. Of course, if he was in a pair of 1958 leather track spikes from Spalding, he may not go as fast now. Or I found an old Soviet pair of spikes from 1958. I'm not sure I would clean the house in them right now, Stuart. But you know what? They might be better than other things. And as you said, our friend Zola Budd, she ran like that for a long time. But there were other runners who did that. I mean, there's some Brits who just would put tape on their feet and run a 10,000 meters like that, you know? And so
Bruce Tulloch.
Oh, yes, yeah. And so those kind of things there.
Yeah.
So Jamie, thank you for putting that note out there. I don't know if you added more controversy or took some away from it, but let's go to European indoors. What are you looking forward to there, Stuart?
I think it'll be a good competition. I'm not expecting a vast amount from the British team. It'll be interesting to see some of the younger people, some of the people in their first championship. But, we had 12 medal winners 2 years ago
Yeah.
in Glasgow, and 2 of the 12 will be in the team this time.
Wow.
Because so many of the others have simply said, the Olympics are coming. It doesn't really help me to be in the best shape possible for the Olympics to be doing an indoor competition in March. And so people like Laura Muir, Asha Phillip, Chris O'Hare, Melissa Courtney Bryant, Shelena Austin Clark, Kim Duckworth have just opted out. Jamie Webb and Holly Bradshaw are the only two.
Wow.
Incidentally, just when we're talking about Holly, just as a quick aside, Holly wanted to go to the Indoor World Series in Madrid, where a decent performance would have given her the first prize, but she was not allowed into the country. So, because Spain has closed its borders to people from the UK. So I think it was $10,000 she was expecting to make. So there's an example of how the pandemic is actually causing problems for athletes. But there's going to be 730 athletes from 47 countries, 17 reigning champions. Poland is a strong athletics country, so I think they will be close to, if not at the top of the medal table. I'm excited to see people like Jessie Knight getting her first chance to run for Britain. I think we'll have a respectable performance, but I can't see us getting the 12 medals that we did. In fact, it was more than 12 medals because we've got more than one. Again, we usually do well in the relays, but we've got young teams in the relay. But, for a lot of people, it's a first opportunity. And I think we've got, we've got three teenagers in the team. And just great for people like that. Somebody like Isabel Boffey, 20, getting a chance to compete on the international scene. And I'm really fascinated to see Jodie Williams, a good sprinter, but first time she's actually been chosen for an individual 400. And I wonder if she's thinking of moving up to the 400. Wow. I knew that she told me that she's been keen, and she did in Doha, to run the 400 relay.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering now if she's actually thinking of moving into the 400 away from the 200. Interesting to see that.
Have you been surprised about Holly this season?
Very pleasantly surprised, but she always seemed to be just on the verge. And I mean, one of those articles that I wrote that you talked about, when the three of them talked about how difficult it is for a woman to get from 450 up to 480.
Yeah.
That's a massive move. In the same way, I suppose it's probably the equivalent of getting over 6 meters for men.
Yeah.
And that suddenly she's doing that and doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Holly last year would go out and do 470, and everyone thought this was wonderful. Now she does 470 on a bad day.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just kind of how long.
I remember having the same conversation with Laura Muir, and I said to her, last year, if you were running 3:57, I'd have thought that was good. Now, that's what you've been running most of the races.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, that's right. And that's progress.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
the whole thing. Why do you think Laura and Gemma, were you surprised when they decided not to compete?
well, Andy Young, their coach, told me it had never really been in their plans. And also, they went to a warm weather training in Dubai, had difficulty getting back.
Oh,
And
really?
then when they were in France, had difficulty getting from France back to the UK.
Oh, really? Wow.
So Andy said to me, we're not convinced really that racing indoor is going to help us. And it's so difficult to travel.
Yeah.
You can finish up being stuck somewhere without great training facilities for a few days. And I mean, just as an aside, I mean, an article I'm sending you today, I talked to Javian Oliver, who won the 60-meter series. And she said one of the challenges for her was having to do self-massage.
Oh, yeah.
To be running twice in 3 days and yet to have no treatments available. And also, I mean, she hadn't been to Europe much, and she said most of the hotels didn't have a bathtub, just a shower. So how do you have an ice bath if there's no bath? And so there's all those things going on, and just traveling, and what will the facilities be like in Poland? Will you be able to get all the stuff that you want to? So I just think Andy said, look, in order for us to be in the best possible shape for the Olympics, I'm not sure that going to European indoors will actually help us. So therefore, we move on.
That makes a ton of sense.
And I think that is the major reason why 10 of our 12 medal winners. I mean, one of the things with the British team, we have no one in the women's sprint.
Wow.
Because none of the athletes who are qualified wanted to do it this year.
Wow. That really tells you something.
Yeah.
We chatted
I don't know, just a quick aside, I mean, I think that one of the things that sports have a tendency to do is to kill the golden goose, if we put it like that, by having meet after meet after meet, and expect everyone to go there. And some athletes are saying, well, actually, I'm just interested in the Olympics this year, and I'll pick the things that help me to go there. And just because you're putting on a championship doesn't mean that I need to go to it.
That's true. That's true. And I think that's going to happen more and more. Our schedule over the next several years is going to be crazy. 222, 223, 224, 225, 226 will have something, 227, 228. So I think 1 year out of the next 7 will be a non-championship year.
Yeah.
And that's pretty difficult for athletes.
And if you are a top athlete and you go to the Olympics and you bomb, is anyone going to remember that you got a silver medal in the European indoors?
I don't think so. I think it's those are the sub notes. You know, I mean, it's like an athlete who does well at the Olympics, but who also has world championship medals and European championship medals, and that's going to be a challenge. We were talking about this just before we went on the air. Tom Bedford, who's the son of David Bedford, the former American record holder and one of the co-founders of the London Marathon. Tom is a fine runner in his own right, broken 2:20 for the marathon, and also, I believe, a pretty good steepler as well, and has developed a reputation for putting on wonderful road races. He does the Richmond Distance Festival with his wife, Jade. They have been doing this, I think, for 5 years now. And they are the folks who are hosting the British Olympic Marathon Trials. It's supposed to be a gorgeous course. It's on March 25th. And what happened was, with all the budget stuff we've told you about with the folks at British Athletics, they really had to reassess and see if they could help support the event. And so Tom, being the concerned citizen he is, put a tweet out and said, "Hey, looking for a sponsor. Can someone help out?" And got some people, I believe, interested. But in that process, British Athletics came back and said, "Hey, look, we think we can help with this." So thank you, British Athletics, for supporting the streaming. So we'll be able to see it everywhere, and it'll give your athletes a little bit more of a pat on the back. Where Tom is looking for some help right now is he wants to put together a prize purse like they did at that sound running event where people donated it, and they gave money to a couple folks in the races they had just less than a couple weeks ago, which I thought it was a great idea. So Tom's working on that right now, and we're going to try to help him a little bit, and we'll see what we can do there. And but that should be an interesting trials. I know there's people already selected. What are you hearing about challenges for our friends at British Athletics right now? Are they just dealing with all the economic doldrums that we're all dealing with?
Other than a presser with Christian Malcolm about the team for Turin, I'm hearing very little from British Athletics at the moment.
When I posted that interview with Christian, seems like a nice enough guy. But it seems like he's got a lot of stuff on his table right now. And it's very interesting to see all the little juggling acts he has to do in order for things to happen for British Athletics. I just remember John Chaplin, who was the coach at Washington State up in Washington, U.S. State, and he had athletes like Henry Rono and Samson Kimawamba. And he told me that as a head coach, the only thing that you get remembered for is if your 4x4 won. And if it didn't, good luck. And so I wonder what Christian will really be judged by and for in this process, British Athletics. Good.
He'd be judged on meeting the medal targets.
Okay.
He won't be judged on Tokyo because he has so little to do with that. But he will be judged on meeting his medal targets at the 22 World Championship and the 23 World Championship and the 24 Olympics.
What about Commonwealth Games? Will that do anything for him or not?
Well, Commonwealth is different because it's not a British team; it's an English, Scottish, and Welsh team.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's really that's nothing to do with him, really. Formally, nothing to do with him. But there have been situations where coaches have actually lost their jobs for failing to meet a medal target, because the medal target is set by UK Sport, and your funding will be reduced if you don't meet the target. If you do not achieve what they think you should achieve in the Olympics and the World Championship, then they have this. Let's say they've got 100 whatevers to give out, and they give 20 to athletics, and athletics doesn't meet its medal target and swimming exceeds it, then next time instead of getting 10, swimming gets 12 and track and field gets 18 instead of 20. So that's the way it works. So it's a competitive market.
Yeah.
No, so that's what you'd be judged on.
It's similar over here. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee deals with track and field, swimming, and gymnastics, the big three. And I mean, they deal with them all, but they're the ones who get the credibility and the funding. And it's very interesting over here. One other thing I didn't put on the list was our friend Caster Semenya is now approaching, I think this may be her last bid to get to run the 800, but she's using the European Council on Human Rights. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I normally keep out of the controversies in the sport, but I have written that I think she has been poorly treated. I think the World Athletics have simply got it wrong to require someone to take medication for which there is no medical justification. I just think is morally wrong. And it so happens that my daughter is a physician, and I was chatting to her about this, and without me actually asking her the question, she said, if someone like that came to me, I wouldn't prescribe the drugs.
Really? Wow.
But I would think it's unethical, because I would be prescribing a drug for someone who doesn't need it medically, and there might be side effects. So I wouldn't do it.
Wow. I thought that she would be grandfathered in. I didn't think any of this stuff would start till after her. And I've been terribly surprised at her treatment.
But it certainly is an example of what looks, I mean, I know that the World Athletics will deny this, but it looks as if rules are being changed to stop one athlete. And that, again, is something I question.
You know, it's very interesting. I just think that I'm not sure if there was a good way that World Athletics could have done it. I'm not sure this is the right way. I also think that they could get really, really in the world of opinion, which is what our world seems to run on now. This fiery animal that is social media that no one seems to be able to get enough of, and that people feel that they can comment on anything and attack people anytime. I was hoping that our most recent election here would have taught people about compassion. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take a little more time than I thought. Speaking of compassion, the U.S. Olympic Committee has sued Puma for violating Olympic trademarks. And our friends at Puma, I've got to hand it to them. Boy, did they do this right. So the day that the USOC announced that Tokyo was being postponed, Puma went to court and was able to push several of the trademarks that the USOC had for like Tokyo 2020 and things like that out, and was able to petition for their Puma's trademarks. So now the USOC has come after them, and not only do they want a lawsuit, they want it in front of a jury, and they are asking for incredible things. And the IOC has been quiet, World Athletics has been quiet, European Athletics has been quiet. I think USOC's got to be really careful, because this could blow up in their face. And they just expect, because they say we're the Olympics, that they can do just about anything. It's a very strange world we live in right now. The Olympic trials for the U.S. are supposed to be at Hayward Field, right? The new facility that Phil Knight and his wife put about $60 million into. The challenge is that Lane County which is where Hayward University of Oregon has extremely restrictive rules regarding COVID. And we understand that there are 4 different scenarios for doing an Olympic trials. And there's a good shot there'll be no fans at the Olympic trials. USA Track and Field just put the schedule out this over the weekend, and I'm going to be posting that tomorrow. But I'm trying to figure out, is media going to be there? Are we going to be doing everything remote like we're doing the European indoors?
Yeah.
Am I going to be doing everything remote for Tokyo? What, I mean, we get over there and they tell us, hey, guys, here's the good news. You get to go into the Olympic Stadium, but you can only be there 2 of the 8 days.
Yeah.
What the hell? What is that about? We put up with all kinds. Heck, you put up with me for so many years. So we can go to the Olympics and World Championships, And so there's a lot of things that are still out there, and I'm just curious to see, how do you think Tokyo is looking right now, my friend?
Just to go back on the trials before I come to Tokyo. I mean, like last year when we had our trials with no fans, British Athletics said to me, "You're welcome to come to the trials if you want to, but frankly, there's no advantage to you being there because you won't get to speak to any athletes. You can sit in a seat, but you can't leave the seat.
Yeah.
So you won't actually get anything by being there other than physically seeing it rather than watching it on a TV screen. So I just stayed at home. Watched it on a TV screen, and I got all the information and all the photographs, etc., that I would have got had been there. I think the only good news from Tokyo I've heard that the numbers are going down and they're likely to lift the state of emergency. I think now that the games will go ahead, but to quote the immortal words, it's not the games as we know them, Jim.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I think it'll be so different.
Yeah.
I don't think that if you and I are there, I don't think either of us will be within 2 meters of an athlete at any time.
Yeah.
We may not actually be in a position where, if we wanted to, we could physically touch an athlete because I think there may well be screens between us. And there'll be so many restrictions. The one that you just mentioned worries me as to the ticketing for media, as to how many they're going to allow in. But I mean, actually, Thomas Bach was quoted this week as saying that we will decide on whether we're allowing spectators by May. Well, May seems pretty late in the day to be making that decision, 2 months before the games. When people want to be booking their travel, but and hotels we wanted to have people booking their accommodation and so on. So I think the games are going to take place, and I think that people like you and I have got 2 big decisions to make. One, do I think it's safe to go? And 2, do I actually think it's worth going to, because it's pretty expensive? I mean, the answer when I asked that question of the British Olympic Association was with Playpro, because the next issue of the playbook is going to have to address some of your questions, because we agree with your questions, other people agree with your questions, and we are asking them of Tokyo.
Well, we will have to wait until Athletics Chat number 43, my friend. You survived 39 minutes today. Right. Thank you. And stay safe. We will no doubt be communicating this coming weekend, March 4th through 7th.
Yes.
As we both watch Torun from the beauty of our own homes. This is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun. This has been Athletics Chat number 42. Stuart Weir, the charming gentleman with a bit of an accent. He is in the intellectual and vexing capital of the world, Oxford, England. I am in the cheese capital, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. We bid you adieu. Thank you for watching our programming. And we still stand by it. Oxford is the intellectual and vexing capital of the world. All right, everybody. If you like RunBlogRun, sign up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That would really help. If you love us, subscribe on the YouTube, and you can see all 42 of our athletic chats. Thanks, Stuart. Talk to you soon. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater, RunBlogRun. This is Athletics Chat number 42. That's 4 and a 2. Wow. So you know the drill. Stuart Weir and the intellectual and vexing capital of the world, Oxford, England, and Larry Eater in the cheese capital of the world, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, home of W.D. Hordes and Sons, my former employer. Anywho's, we had a great chat today with Stuart, and we had some fun stuff to talk about. First of all, the Mondo and Renault show. Mondo Duplantis is the Swedish pole vaulter by way of Louisiana. His daddy is from the U.S., mama is from Sweden, and that wonderful pairing not only provide great coaching for him, but also allowed him to grow up in an environment where he has just done really well. Mondo is a tremendous talent. Ronaldo Villanay, 15 years older than him, is the former world record holder. He's an Olympic champion. He's a European champion. He's a world medalist and world indoor champion. And Renault, you know what? The thing about Renault that I like the most is the guy really enjoys it. On Sunday, when he went 6:06, just days after Mondo went 6:10, his daughter ran out on the track and gave him a big hug. And that was fantastic. I just got a kick out of that. And the smile on his face said everything. But you got Mondo, and you've got Ronaldo Villanay, so Sweden and France, among the 52 countries and areas that will compete in the European Indoor Champs in Tober in Poland, March 4th through 7th. We'll be covering it here on RunBlogRun, both myself, Larry Eater, and Stuart. Stuart will be in Oxford. I will be in Fort Atkinson. Thanks to European broadcasting, we'll be able to see things remotely and do interviews. And it's almost if we're there, but I'm not drinking Polish beer and Polish sausage, eating Polish sausages. So I'll have to see if I can find some Polish beer somewhere and have one of those a night. And then I'll be able to watch the championships. It should be a lot of fun. So we'll keep you updated on those. We also talked about the upcoming British Marathon Trials that Tom Bedford is putting on. And it's supposed to be pretty cool. And thanks to British Athletics, they have streaming video, but they're looking for some prize money. And so if a sponsor's out there who wants to help, get a hold of me at runblogrun@gmail.com, and I'll put you in touch with Tom. That's on March 25th, 2021. We've got the European Championships coming up this weekend. We've got the NCAA Division I track N2 and 3 coming up shortly as well. We have on March 15th, the 2020 Men's NCAA Cross Country Championships, which will be held in Stillwater, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma. I think it's the University of Oklahoma, if I'm correct, on their campus. So it should be very interesting to see how that one goes. No fans will be allowed on the course. No media will be allowed on the course. It's just the runners and the TV stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see. ESPN's covering it TV-wise, and we at 40th Media, who represent RunBlogRun, are working on the sales for that. And again, if you have any interest, reach out to me at 40smedia@gmail.com. Don't like to combine them both, but I thought I'd throw that in on that one. And we've got a few other topics that I just wanted to get over with you, so you had a chance to really see what's been going on this week. We also talked about Tokyo, and Tokyo right now I'd say it's 50-50. I can't. I'm having a difficult time understanding how they can put it on, but the LSC seems to be able to want to do it. European indoors are not going to have any fans, but they're going to have great television. European Broadcasting just does a great job. I love watching their meets from wherever I'm at, and I watch a lot of them on YouTube. British Marathon Trials we talked about. We didn't talk about Jamie Webb. Jamie Webb is a British 800-meter runner. He was under Seb Coe's former British record, but he was second in the race because Elliot Giles ran that amazing 1:43.36. Most of the media coverage in the UK has been about the shoes, nothing else, not even the athletes, and it's just silliness. Bottom line is this: of course, the shoes help, and James Webb put it the best in an article where he said that, look, there were gravel tracks, and now they're Mondo tracks. You don't think it's a paradigm change, and it is. Some people will be able to use the new shoes better than others. On the road, a 3-hour marathoner in some of these new shoes could probably go 2:55. Could be the difference between them qualifying for Boston and not qualifying for Boston. So that's an interesting thing. On the track, they claim all the records are going to be rewritten. I'm not so sure about that. I do believe the shoes are a huge difference. And again, paradigm changing, like between being on a gravel or dirt track and being on a Mondo track. I think it's that kind of difference, maybe 1.5%. It's a lot. But there's some athletes who are staying in their old spikes, not even trying the new spikes. I think that's a little silly. You've got to be at the same level as your competition. I know that the new shoes, I'm not sure how much of a help or hindrance there were at the U.S. marathon trials back in February of 2020. Although I think it was half of the field was in one of the new Nike shoe. It was the same thing among the medalists. I think it was 4 among the medalists too. Or no, it was 3 or 4. And the issue is that you got to have that perfect storm. It's nutrition, sports psychology, it's training, it's coaching, it's great product, it's staying injury free. All those things add up. If you've got those, can the shoes make a big difference? Of course they can. And they will help you put it all together. I just think the way we're talking about it, I have an issue with. And let's see what else I wanted to cover at. Tokyo, I think, is looking a little better. The U.S. Olympic trials, we know there's 4 different ways they're trying to do it. Lane County sounds like it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think that they'll find a way to make it work. The people involved are good, thoughtful people, and they want fans there. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. We'll keep our fingers crossed. And this was the epilogue for Athletics Chat number 42. It's the week of, it's actually Monday, March 1st. And thank you to Mike Deering for producing this. Thanks to Stuart Weir for chatting with me for 40 plus minutes. And this is Larry Eder signing off. If you like us, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, subscribe. If you love us, subscribe on our YouTube channel. So like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe on the YouTube. See, Mikey, I can do it right once in a while. This is Larry Eder with Athletics Chat 42, the epilogue, signing off.